My parents took my college fund to renovate the kitchen, then asked me to cover their mortgage. Best Reddit stories. My name is Alex, and I've always been the responsible one in my family. The planner, the saver. From the time I was 12, I worked odd jobs, mowing lawns, babysitting, anything to add to the college fund my parents had promised was growing safely in an account with my name on it. "Your education is the most important thing," my dad would say, his hand on my shoulder as I'd excitedly check my bank statement each month. I believed him. Why wouldn't I? They were my parents. I still remember the day I got my acceptance letter from State University. It wasn't my dream school. That would have been too expensive even with financial aid, but it was a good school with a strong program in my field. I was practical, always making responsible choices. "We're so proud of you," Mom said, hugging me tight. "All your hard work paid off." My parents suggested I take a gap year, work a little more before starting college. "It'll help build up your savings even more," Dad explained. I didn't question it. Why would I? They had my best interests at heart. Or so I thought. When college registration was 3 months away, I decided it was time to check on my college fund. I'd need to start making concrete plans about housing, meal plans, textbooks, all the expenses coming my way. "Mom, can we go to the bank tomorrow to check on my college account? I need to know exactly what I'm working with for the fall semester." There was a pause, just a beat too long. "Oh, honey, we can talk about that tonight when your father gets home." Something in her voice made my stomach drop. That evening, when Dad walked through the door, the air felt heavy with something unspoken. We sat at our kitchen table, our newly renovated kitchen table, and my life changed forever. "Alex, there's something we need to discuss," Dad began, not quite meeting my eyes. Mom jumped in. "The college fund, there have been some changes." Changes. My voice sounded small, even to me. "We had to use that money for some important expenses," Dad said, gesturing vaguely around us. I looked around, really looked at our kitchen for the first time. The gleaming marble countertops that hadn't been there 6 months ago, the custom cabinets with soft close hinges, the high-end stainless steel appliances that had replaced our perfectly functional older ones. "The kitchen," I whispered, the pieces falling into place. "You used my college fund for a kitchen remodel?" Mom's smile was tight, practiced. "It was an investment in our home value. Besides, you can take out student loans like everyone else. Your father and I had loans and we survived." "But you promised," my voice broke. "You told me that money was for my education. I worked for years adding to it." "Don't be dramatic," Dad said firmly. "The money you contributed was minimal. Most of it came from us anyway." "How much is left?" I asked, dreading the answer. Mom slid her phone across the table. On the screen was my account balance. $0. Not a penny left. 10 years of savings, of planning, of believing my parents had my back. Gone. "This is a joke, right?" I looked between them, searching for any sign that this was some terrible prank. "Student loans aren't the end of the world," Mom said, her voice falsely cheerful as she ran her hand along the edge of our new granite countertop. "And look how beautiful the kitchen turned out. The realtor says it adds at least $30,000 to our home value." I sat there, numb, as they outlined their plan for me. Community college for 2 years, then transfer to state, work full-time while studying, take out the maximum loans. All delivered with smiles, as if they were doing me a favor by teaching me financial independence. That night I lay in bed staring at the ceiling, tears streaming silently down my face. It wasn't just the money, it was the betrayal, the casual way they'd stolen my future and expected me to thank them for the lesson. The next morning I called my best friend Sarah. "They did what?" she practically screamed when I told her. "Used my college fund for kitchen renovations," I repeated, the words still not feeling real. "That's theft," she said bluntly. "That money was for you." "They say they provided most of it anyway," I mumbled. "Bull," Sarah snapped. "Even if they did, they promised it to you. They let you believe it was there. They let you make life plans based on that promise." She was right, of course, and something inside me hardened. I spent the next week researching my options. The community college route wasn't terrible academically, but it meant 2 more years living with parents I no longer trusted. I looked into scholarships, grants, work-study programs, anything to help me stand on my own. When I presented my findings to my parents, their reaction was telling. "You're overreacting," Mom sighed. "We're offering you a home, food, support. Many kids would be grateful." "I was grateful," I said quietly, "when I thought you were honest with me." Dad's face darkened. "Watch your tone. We're still your parents." "Parents who stole from their child," I responded, surprised by my own boldness. The argument that followed was ugly. Words like ungrateful, entitled, and sacrifices were thrown around. I was told I didn't understand the real world, that they had done what was best for the family. "The kitchen benefits all of us," Mom insisted. "I'll be at college," I countered. "How exactly does it benefit me?" They had no good answer for that. The next day, I did something I never thought I'd do. I applied for every student loan I could qualify for. I accepted my spot at State University, arranged for the cheapest dorm option, and applied for every on-campus job available. "What are you doing?" Mom asked when she saw me packing. "Getting an education," I replied simply, "with or without your help." "Don't be ridiculous," Dad scoffed. "You can't afford this." "Funny," I said, continuing to fold my clothes. "Neither could you, but that didn't stop you from getting those fancy cabinets." The day I left for college was tense. My parents still believed I was making a mistake, that I should be practical and stay home, but there was something else in their eyes too, a grudging respect perhaps, or at least the realization that I wasn't backing down. College was harder than I'd imagined, not just academically, but financially. I worked 20 hours a week at the campus bookstore, took a full course load, and lived on ramen and peanut butter sandwiches. Every time I signed for another loan disbursement, I felt a mixture of pride and resentment. Pride that I was making it work, resentment that I had to. I didn't go home for holidays. I couldn't bear to look at that kitchen. 4 years passed this way. I graduated with honors and $68,000 in student loan debt. The day I received my diploma, I stood alone, scanning the crowd for faces that weren't there. My parents had chosen not to attend after I'd made it clear they weren't welcome to the celebratory dinner afterward. I moved to the city, found a decent entry-level job in my field, and began the long process of paying down my debt. I kept contact with my parents, minimal. A text on birthdays, a brief call at Christmas. They seemed to accept the new distance between us, perhaps understanding on some level that trust, once broken, is not easily repaired. 3 years after graduation, my phone rang with my mother's number. "Alex," she said, her voice thick with tears, "we need your help." I waited, saying nothing. "The mortgage, we're 3 months behind, the bank is threatening foreclosure, your father's hours were cut back, and with the economy the way it is..." I closed my eyes, feeling a complex mix of emotions wash over me. "We wouldn't ask if we weren't desperate," she continued. "But you're doing so well now, and family helps family. Family helps family." The irony wasn't lost on me. "How much do you need?" I asked, my voice neutral. She named a figure that made my stomach clench. It was almost exactly what I had managed to save over the past 3 years, money that was meant to make a dent in my student loans. "I'll think about it," I said finally. "I'll call you back." I sat at my small apartment desk, staring at my budget spreadsheet. The rational part of me knew I should say no. They had made their choice years ago, choosing granite countertops over my future. Why should I sacrifice my financial security for theirs? But another part of me, the part that still remembered being that kid who believed in his parents, couldn't just turn my back on them entirely. I picked up my phone and began typing an email. I attached links to several loan options, information about refinancing, and the contact information for a financial advisor who specialized in helping people avoid foreclosure. "These are resources that helped me when I had to figure things out on my own," I wrote. "I hope they help you too." I hit send, then added a text message. "I can't give you the money. I'm still paying for my education." Minutes later, my phone rang. It was Dad, his voice tight with anger. This is how you repay us, after everything we've done for you? I took a deep breath. What exactly did you do for me, Dad? When it counted most, when you had promised to help me, you chose a kitchen remodel instead. That's not fair, he sputtered. Neither was taking my college fund, I replied evenly, but I found a way forward. You can too. We might lose the house, Mom said, having apparently taken the phone. Your childhood home. I lost something important too, I reminded her, but I survived. You taught me that valuable lesson, remember? About financial independence? The silence on the other end was deafening. I'm not heartless, I continued. If you sell the house and need help with a security deposit for an apartment, I can help with that. But I won't put myself in financial jeopardy for a mortgage you can't afford. The kitchen was an investment, Dad said weakly. How's that investment working out for you? I asked, not unkindly. More silence. I have to go, I said finally. But think about those resources I sent. They really do help. I ended the call and sat back, exhausted but oddly at peace. For years, I'd carried the weight of their betrayal, the anger at having to start my adult life deep in debt because of their choices. But in that moment, I realized something had shifted. I wasn't that betrayed, helpless teenager anymore. I had built a life on my own terms. 3 days later, a text from Mom. We're listing the house. Your father found a better-paying job, but we need to downsize anyway. Thank you for the resources. No apology, no acknowledgement of the irony that their kitchen renovation, the very thing they'd sacrificed my college fund for, hadn't saved them from having to sell, but it was something. 6 months later, I received a small envelope in the mail. Inside was a check for $3,000 and a note, your contribution to the college fund. It's not everything, but it's a start. It wasn't about the money. $3,000 barely made a dent in my loans. But it was the first step toward something resembling amends. I deposited the check directly toward my student loan principal. Sometimes when I visit my parents in their new, modest apartment, I notice how Mom's eyes linger on their basic builder-grade kitchen. I wonder if she thinks about marble countertops and custom cabinets, if she questions the choices they made. I don't ask. Some lessons have to be learned the hard way. I certainly learned mine. But when Dad recently mentioned they were thinking of taking out a home equity loan for some necessary upgrades, I simply looked him in the eye and said, "Is it worth it?" He didn't answer, but I think he finally understood. I don't know if our relationship will ever fully heal. Trust, once broken, leaves scars. But I do know this. I will never again let anyone, family or not, make me feel like my future is less important than their granite countertops. And when I have children of my own someday, their college funds will be in accounts only I can access with their names legally protected. Because some cycles are meant to be broken.